Alrighty, thank you so much, Alex. Time is now 7:12 on this Tuesday morning, and we're keeping you updated on all the popular trends in media. Right now, Superman has brought in over $400 million globally at the box office, and it sits in that number 2 spot right now behind the Fantastic Four. It continues to take over discussion on social media, and honestly, if you haven't seen it already, you have to go check it out just to see how they transform Macon's Terminal Station into the newspaper bureau, the Daily Planet. Now, joining us to talk about James Gunn's latest project is Middle Georgia State University Assistant Professor of Psychology, Heather Ness-Maddox. Thank you so much for staying with us this morning.
Absolutely.
Now, firstly, we didn't get to this in the 6 o'clock hour, but I mean, I think both of us have now seen the movie. You know, what did you think about the movie overall?
Oh, I loved it. So I read a lot of comics, and there is a lot to love, a lot there for comic lovers in the new Superman film. They did a really great job of if you crack open a comic book, it's bright. You know, there's a lot of colors. There's action constantly going, right? There's usually not just one superhero, but a lot of familiar faces, and they really translated that well to the screen.
Yeah, like any good story, obviously, there are deeper meanings and themes behind all these stories. So talk a little bit about how Superman kind of reflects and shapes some of societal values.
Absolutely. So comics, and superhero comics, have always provided some political and social commentary. Even if you crack open a Superman comic book from the 1940s, it's talking about World War II, right? And so we have kind of over time seen some change in tones as kind of political and social tones have also changed. So when Superman first came out in 1938, that was called the Golden Age of comics, right? Yeah. It was communicating patriotism, American values, especially because we were at war overseas, right? We kind of needed that, and the people back home also needed hope, right? And then over time, starting around in the 80s, around 1985, there's a shift in tone. It's called the Dark Age of comics because it literally got darker from those bright colors. But also the storylines got a lot grittier. And the tone started to shift a little bit more towards, well, wait a minute, should we always trust authority figures? Is this Big Blue, the Boy Scout hero, is he always doing the right thing and should never be questioned? Yeah. And then I think any time that you kind of tip one way a little bit too much, there's a bit of a reaction. And I think that's where we kind of are right now, where we have superhero films who are saying, well, hold on, it isn't always that difficult to choose good. Yeah. Good is sometimes just very easy to, it's not always easy to do. Sometimes it's going to get you punched in the face, right? But sometimes it's easy to discern. And what Superman in this newest film kind of reflects is kind of going back to that hope that folks needed back in the 1930s and the 1940s. I don't think we're necessarily all that different from almost 100 years ago. Yeah. People's needs and people's what the stories that they need are kind of still pretty similar, and we're going through some similar things that we were facing back in the 1930s and 1940s. Some scariness on a political, social, global level, and so now we're kind of going back around to, well, maybe people need hope again. Yeah. In these stories.
Yeah. Earlier in our 6 a.m. hour, and even just now, you kind of mentioned the contrast between Superman and some of these other superheroes. I think particularly we see that between the Justice Gang and Superman, where they have these conflicting kind of values. Can you kind of speak a little bit to that kind of contrast that we see?
Yeah, and we've seen that in other stories as well, where Superman's in the Justice League, and they kind of make fun of him a little bit for being the Boy Scout, and he's always so good, and he takes it and he laughs along with it, right? But that doesn't deter him from it. But we do see these other characters who don't necessarily have his same values. They might have the same end goal, but how they achieve that goal, how they get the job done, might be very different than how Superman does it.
Yeah. Now, at the end of our 6 o'clock, Alex Pry kind of threw a question in there. You know, we talked about some of the differences between maybe Superman and Green Lantern and Batman, but you know, what is it about Superman or Spider-Man? Excuse me. You know, a lot of kids grow up idolizing Spider-Man. He's kind of like the newfound favorite. So, you know,
Absolutely.
What's the difference between those two, right?
Absolutely.
There?
I'm glad you asked that question. Spider-Man is actually my favorite as well. And you know, there's the famous tagline, "With great power comes great responsibility," right? And one of the reasons why I love Spider-Man Spider-Man so much, and he really personally speaks to me, is that he shows being a hero is often that you have to put others first before yourself. You know, I mean, he has all these amazing powers. He could basically have anything that he wants if he chose to do it, but he's actively choosing not to put himself first and to put his community, his family, his friends first.
Yeah. Well, thanks so much for joining us in studio this morning. Again, if you haven't seen the movie, now's your chance to go get a look at Macon and parts of Crawford County on the big screen. It's still in theaters across Central Georgia through next week.